Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the sixth round post-fight show with me, Zane Simon, and my co-host, as always, Eddie Mercado. We are here coming to you once again following this week's UFC event in Las Vegas, Nevada. UFC 248, Israel Adesanya and Weilie Zhang, both defending their titles in closely contested title fights that could not be further apart on the spectrum of excitement and thrill and activity.
Man, we got two outliers. One best case scenario, the other worst case scenario on that Derek Lewis, Francis Ngannou level.
Yeah.
Oh, what a terrible. We talk a lot about how, a UFC card can just really stink and not be a lot of fun. It can be a slog, but if the main event delivers, then it makes up for it. And this is the total inverse of that. Like, this entire card up until that main event was just fire. It was spectacular. I loved every single fight for many different reasons.
Yep.
And then these middleweights come out, and it was supposed to be the most exciting fight. Like, oh, man, two insanely different styles, both alphas going at it. Like, it's going to be nuts. There's no way it won't deliver. And what does it do? It doesn't deliver.
Yeah. I mean, they're lucky that Joanna versus Zhang was the co-main, because it doesn't even matter, honestly, that Romero. I mean, it sucks that Romero versus Adesanya was bad, but there's such a positive energy high that I can only be like, well, that's too bad. Like, I feel like Adesanya and Romero both missed out. They are both going to be disappointed by this for a while. The UFC was out there ready to build Adesanya as one of their next big major pay-per-view stars. This was this was sort of his next potential breakout moment for that, a card that he could headline and really like sell and catapult him into the next big pay-per-view after this. And that might not happen. That fight he has with Paulo Costa may be half as big a deal as it would have been had this been a thriller.
This is very true. I think the only saving grace in that is the fact that this gives Paulo Costa ammunition to talk trash.
Yeah. If Costa can turn this into a real hype story for him, then that fight can still get built up into something, but it won't be built off of Adesanya's spectacular, fan-winning, moment-stealing performance.
No, if anything, I think it'll probably shift the odds, not to make Paulo a favorite, but I think there'll be a lot more money getting dumped on him.
Oh yeah. I mean,
after that kind of performance.
I wouldn't be surprised if he's not a favorite by fight time.
I think I'd be a little surprised.
Really?
Barely. I mean, I think it'll be a really tight line, but it's hard to. I just can't foresee anyone putting Izzy at plus numbers.
I don't know. I think it'll probably open close, and then I think people will dump money on Costa.
But man, what a terrible, terrible, terrible fight.
Yep.
Yeah. Yoel Romero stood like a statue for like 2 minutes straight.
Yeah. I mean, the thing for Adesanya is that he knew that Romero would come out and have exactly this fight. And so it was up to him to, he didn't want, like, credit to Adesanya. He didn't want to go out there and be the next Robert Whittaker, who, even in a win, went through absolute hell. And people are like, Robert Whittaker was a changed man after Yoel Romero fought him. There are people coming before this fight started saying the only reason that Adesanya, it could be the only reason Adesanya beat Whittaker is how much Romero took out of him. And if you're Adesanya, I can understand looking at that and being like, I don't need that to be me. I don't need to be the next guy that goes through absolute hell just to beat Yoel Romero. But at the same time, at some point, Romero's got, like, see, at that, and that's the point where it's just like, well, Romero's got to be the one to realize you're not going to win this fight just standing in place and waiting for this guy to come die on your left hand.
Yeah, and the heartbreaking thing is that this is more than likely Romero's last chance.
And that's why I said a minute ago that I feel more bad for both of them and what they missed out of this fight than I feel bad for me, because I can still live in all the dopamine rush off of Zhang Jedrzejczyk.
Yeah, I mean, it'll come back for me. I'm still in that lull.
Yeah, I get it.
Yoel even lulled me to sleep in this one.
Fair.
He gave me that false sense of security.
For Romero is the 42-year-old who, wants to fight into his 50s and stay a marquee attraction. Like, at some point, there's got to be some urgency in making that dream happen. You can't just, especially, and I realize he's not slowing down. He's not getting weaker. He doesn't look older. But, like, it's going to be harder and harder over time. It just is to be the guy who wins a fight off of one brief moment of offense.
Yeah, this was by far his worst fight to date. And it's you got to, I guess, credit Adesanya for not even giving him the moment the opening, I should say, to pull a classic Romero where he finds that one specific moment where he just launches something crazy. Because, I mean, Romero tried a couple times, where he went for that little trip and then started, landing a couple heavy punches from the clinch. But Adesanya just wasn't having it. He fought insanely smart, and that's not fan-friendly. People aren't – it's not anything to get excited about. But, I mean, at the end of the day, I guess he did what he had to do to not get in a war, to not get beat up, to not lose his title. And so I guess that's the takeaway for him. I don't think either of them – this wasn't a win bonus situation, right? They both just got paid flat-out fees for this fight?
Yeah, they both got paid flat for this, so – It's not, he doesn't lose money for not getting, a big win other than a $50,000 performance of the night. But at some point when you're making enough money, I'm sure he wouldn't turn his nose up at 50 grand, but that's not like that's not a big enough driver at some point to try and get yourself knocked out. Yeah,
for sure. Especially on a night with so many crazy finishes and the epic co-main event that we did have that is a shoe-in for fight of the night.
Yeah, I don't blame Adesanya. It's just also a factor of it's gonna be a longer road than he would probably like to become that next Anderson Silva or GSP pay-per-view seller.
But, I mean, I guess the good thing is his immediate fight is Costa, and Costa is going to bring out the best in him.
Yeah, that's another opportunity. I mean, it's worth remembering, too, for for anybody looking at GSP and Silva and dudes like that who became these great pay-per-view mainstays for the UFC. They did not start out, even as champions, as, massive pay-per-view sellers for the promotion.
Yeah.
That came, for Anderson Silva, by far the biggest pay-per-view moments for him came late at the end of his title run.
Yeah.
But it's, so he'll be, always retaining the belt has got to be the foremost thing. You can't be the star without the belt unless you're a McGregor-style fighter, which, or McGregor-style sort of celebrity, which very few fighters are ever primed to become.
Yeah, and even then, McGregor won 2 belts in 2 divisions.
Exactly.
Yeah. Man, I just hated this with a passion.
It sucks. We should move on to better fights.
Fair.
Let's talk about Weilie Zhang defending her title against Joanna Jedrzejczyk.
The dopamine is coming back. I can feel it. I can feel it surging through my body. This was one of the greatest fights I've ever seen in my entire life.
An absolutely beautiful fight. Just an absolute start to finish war. Zhang out early, landing hard counters in round 1. Joanna coming and 1 and 2, and Joanna coming back in rounds 3 and 4, keeping the volume on, sitting down on her shots, never letting Zhang off the hook for a moment. And you kind of got to wonder if Zhang would have won this fight if she hadn't broken Joanna's nose in the 5th round.
Yeah, I think it was a left hook, wasn't it?
Yep.
And as soon as it landed, that's when the forward pressure let up from Joanna, and she started backpedaling a bit. But she kept throwing, credit to her. Yeah. But, it was a bit of a momentum shift, and it probably I would say that was the turning point in that round, which allowed her to steal the round.
Yeah, and it's, it's something else for the judges to see. Like, if you're scoring effective striking, the principal factor of what makes effective striking is damage.
Right.
And you're like, oh, wow, that person just got their nose broke. Like...
Not to mention the forehead swelling up in a Daryl Strawberry-like fashion. Holy smokes. That was insane. I've never seen something like that before.
No.
Like I've seen him with like Mark Hominick. I remember he had a really bad one, but it was only like around the eye, like the top eyebrow part. I've never seen an entire I've seen Cyborg get his forehead caved in, but I've never seen just a total swelling up of the forehead like that. Like
from what it
side
was?
To side.
I
was thinking the headbutt. Yeah.
Joanna led with charged in on it was a bad takedown attempt. She didn't bend her knees that far, but she drove through it really hard. And that just meant that her forehead was right in line with the side of Zhang's face. And she just planted the middle of her forehead right into Zhang. And after that, it got hit a couple times and just started swelling up massively. Still, though, I mean, an incredible performance from Joanna for a fight that a lot of people thought that she would just get out-muscled and outgunned.
I'm guilty of that. I thought she was going to get finished, to be completely honest with you.
Yeah, a lot of people did. A lot of people were like, man, Rose found her with those counters. Zhang throws a lot of counters. Zhang is more powerful, more compact than Rose, throws more offense than Rose. She's going to put Joanna to sleep. And she hurt her. She busted her up. But, Joanna is, like, she's absolutely incredibly tough.
Yeah. Insanely tough and insanely game. Like, she didn't get discouraged for 1 second in that fight. Like, she got her nose broken and she backpedaled, but that's just what she had to do in the moment to survive. But, I mean, not even 10 seconds later, she's back to moving forward and back on her combinations, finishing her punches with kicks. Like, this was such an epic fight. I mean, it really did have everything. It had volume and it had power. They showed off their chins. They showed off their heart, their toughness, their cardio. Like, oh my goodness, this was so great.
Yeah.
And not just for a women's fight. I mean, period. This was a phenomenal, high-class fight. Like,
and man, like, look at these stats, too. Like, round 1, significant strikes, 30-30. Round 2, 20 for Zhang, 32 for Joanna. Round 3, 38-38. Round 4, 40-40. Round 5, Zhang 37, Joanna 46. Like,
man, I love technical brawls, and that's what this was. They were technically brawling. It's the exact opposite of the main event.
Yeah.
Like, they were like, I'm throwing my techniques, and I'm going to hit you, and you can throw your techniques back, and you're going to hit me, but we're just going to keep going until somebody wins or time runs out. And I have so much respect for that style because it is such a hard thing to do. To just stand there, bite down, throw what you're going to throw, knowing you're going to have some heat coming back your way.
Yep. No, it was a really amazing fight. I mean, it's one of those things, too, like, maybe they'll rerun it right again. I kind of hope that, like, it's the kind of fight that I would love to see both women go out and win another fight and then circle back to do this again.
Yeah, I would also like to see them take some time off. And these were, both of them put on $1 million performances here.
Yeah.
Like, it's disrespectful for their fight of the night bonuses to be anything less than $1 million. It really is.
Well, I mean, I know that a lot of the era of cutting locker room checks for fighters is not nearly what it used to be, but I also know it still happens, and White had better have something ready for them. Like, because I think that I saw that they're both on like 100K and 100K each, maybe, or like 150 and 150.
That's nowhere near enough.
These women gave so much more of themselves than that amount of money.
Yeah, they both took so much punishment.
Yeah.
Like, that's years off your life. You know what I mean? We're talking about brain damage here.
Yeah. No. Speaking, however, of years off your life and brain damage, Beneil Dariush and Drakkar Klose. Man.
I was so curious how this fight was going to pan out. You have someone in Dariush who, is technical everywhere.
Yep.
And then you have someone in Klose who just really pushes a pace, super tough, and just really game. And like what that would look like in real time. And with the fact that both of them came in on a 3-fight winning streak, there's a lot at stake. They're both gunning for the rankings. So there was just so much on the line here, and I wasn't quite sure what to expect. And this fight delivered. It delivered in the craziest way possible.
I mean, you saw like right away that Dariush is the more technical guy. He comes out, he gets an opportunity in a scramble with Klose, takes his back right away, making him fight off chokes and subs, really kind of drowning him in that grappling offense. But also, like, Klose he has never been stopped before in his whole career. He's never been submitted. He's never been knocked out. Just hangs tough all around, and round 2 starts, and you're like, okay, here's that toughness coming into play. Klose is stepping into the pocket, landing hard on Dariush. Can Dariush survive this kind of fight? And then he just comes back winging hooks at Klose, and they both start brawling, and I did not think in that kind of fight that Dariush was going to be the dude or that Klose was going to be the dude to go out cold, but he absolutely went out cold.
Yeah, he did. I don't think Klose expected it either. Because, I talked to him before this, and he mentioned how, he felt like Dariush is chinny because Dariush has been knocked out before. But I know the way they spar at King's MMA is extremely hard. There's some hard spars out there. And I felt like I knew his body kick was really going to be a tool, but I'd be lying if I said I expected him to just bite down and start chucking heat with his hands. I never, of all the outcomes of this fight, that is the one I did not picture, is Dariush scoring a knockout punch.
I think you got to think that probably Klose didn't expect it either, and that might have been part of his downfall. That of all the ways he saw this fight going, he did not see Dariush just sitting down and throwing leather at him.
While he's hurt at that. So think about this. So Dariush, he had to have burned out, his legs reasonably burned him out with that holding the body triangle, standing back take for a large chunk of that first round. Then comes out in the second, gets rocked, and like backpedaling in a daze is when he was like, okay, I'm just going to bite down and chuck. And Klose is like, oh, I got him hurt. I have to go in for the kill now. This is my moment. He's done. But Dariush wasn't done. He puts Klose on skates, and then Klose was like, oh, he's hurt. This is my chance to get the fight done. And Klose tried to do the same thing and bite down in return while he was hurt. And it got him caught.
Yeah, it was interesting too. They noted, which obviously it showed up in what's probably going to end up being a pretty iconic picture, that like Klose was messing with. He was like fiddling with his mouthpiece in his mouth during that final exchange. And man, like when he got clocked at that shot and it just popped halfway out his mouth. Yeah. Oof. What a way to go out.
Yeah, that's a tough loss for Klose. It really is. Beneil Dariush actually won a performance bonus off of this. Yep. He's been racking them up too. He spent his last one on his wedding, which I thought was respectable and definitely keeps the wife happy considering the lifestyle they live. It's tough to be a significant other, whether it be a wife, girlfriend, whatever, of a fighter, since it's such a selfish sport and so much goes into it. So I'm really happy because he's a great dude also. Dariush, he's like the nicest guy in the world. Really
Oh,
grounded.
he wants to be a missionary when his fighting career is over, right?
That's awesome. Yeah, he's definitely witnesses when he can. He's a man of faith, and boy, he can put someone's lights out, whether it be on the feet or via submission. So he's like the nicest, dangerous guy there is. Like him and Stephen Thompson have are neck and neck for the nicest. What is that belt that Stephen got?
The NMF belt.
Yeah, the nicest mofo belt.
Oh, but yeah. I mean, all credit to Dariush there. Hell of a fight. And then that call out of he called it a call out. Really a shout out to Robert Whitaker for being such a great dad after the fight. It's like,
oh, yeah. That's like a shoe-in for the NMF belt.
Yes.
Like you have your mic time. Instead of calling out someone in the rankings, you're commending someone on their parenting skills and being a fighter. That's beyond commendable.
Yeah. All right. That brings us to a welterweight fight. Neil Magny, Li Jingliang. And man, I could not have been more wrong about this. Magny absolutely just put a complete whipping on Jingliang.
This was a classic outclassing.
Yep.
Magny, gone for a year and some change, comes back with a freaking jab.
Yeah.
I was so excited to see that. He was building off of it. He was using it. It was stiff. He was keeping the leech off of him. And, mixing that, because his arms are exceptionally long.
Oh, yeah.
So him with a jab, plus his grappling skills, plus his endless gas tank, that's a tough order for anybody.
It is. No, I mean he used to jab a lot, but it was always this sort of lazy. He'd pump the jab out there, and then he'd bring it halfway back and throw it again, and it ended up in this really predictable rhythm that guys could just key off of. And in this fight, he was popping it, sitting down on it, bringing it back, and then throwing it again if he wanted to throw it. He was using it to break the rhythm of his opponent rather than create a rhythm of his own that was predictable. And Jingliang still had some success when they were just trading out in open space, especially as the fight went on late. But credit to Magny for this, and a lot of lack of credit to Jingliang too. Jingliang really seemed, I think he got flustered by the jab and the range, and he really thought he could just out-grapple and out-wrestle Magny from the clinch, and he could not at all.
Nah, he was getting lit up from the clinch. And that's another thing I was liking about the jab is when Magny was throwing it, he was coming forward with it.
Yep.
And just the jousting motion of the jab was backing Jingliang up to the fence. And that's where, Magny wants to enter the clinch. And, he was throwing really just punishing knees to the body. And the grappling of Magny has always been one of his strong suits.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he looked like a top 15 fighter out there.
It is definitely the best performance I've seen from him. Even in wins over guys like Johnny Hendricks and Kelvin Gastelum and Hector Lombard, he did not look nearly as good or composed as he did in this fight.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see who they book him against next. I know he called out Chiesa, and I love that fight.
Yeah, I wouldn't be at all surprised if he gets it. Frankly, he's willing to fight all the time, so it's not like Chiesa would have to wait around for him. And it seems like a pretty natural fit for him. It'd be either that or maybe Jeff Neal.
Ooh, man, yikes. Well, either one of those will say a lot about where Magny is. And is he back for real, or was this just a really good stylistic matchup for him?
Yeah, the Chiesa fight would be, they'd both be interesting. The Chiesa fight just because Chiesa wouldn't be able to compete with him out at range very well, but would be a lot better able to compete with him in the clinch and on the ground if Magny wanted to close the fight down as much in that fight as he did here. And then the Neal fight, kind of the exact opposite. Neal would be able to compete with him pretty well out at range, but if Magny could get him into the clinch a lot again and try to take him down a lot again, he might have another option to kind of run this fight back.
Yeah, this was really good to see. I'm excited for his return. Didn't he get a USADA suspension? Isn't that why he was away?
Yeah, he had some supplement. I think USADA eventually cleared him, but it took a while.
Okay.
Like, I think it was he could prove he had some tainted supplements.
Because like you were saying, he's one of those guys on that Cowboy Cerrone, Angela Hill tip where he's just down to fight all the time. Like, he doesn't really accrue a lot of damage. Like, he just seems always ready to go. Yep. And it's good. I like Neil Magny.
Yep. Great win for him here. Really impressive performance. And really throws him right back into the mix of the top 15 at welterweight, where it kind of felt like, not only the time off, but that hard loss to Ponzinibbio before this, it kind of felt like he was slipping out of that. It felt like Magny was kind of like, oh, people have solved him, starting to crack him a little. He's taking a bunch of time off. Is he going to be the same guy? This puts him right back in that conversation.
Yeah, so I'm looking at the welterweight rankings, and Conor McGregor is number 15. What in the actual is going on here?
No, let's try not to spend too much time unpacking that mess. Instead, we've got a welterweight bout. Another one, Alex Oliveira, Max Griffin to go to.
This was a good fight.
This was a scrap. This was a complete scrap. Both men won one round clearly, and then that third was almost a complete toss-up.
Yeah, it was. I think it was the damage of Oliveira is really what, as it should, won him the fight. If Max Griffin had done more when he reversed the takedown and was on top in half guard, he probably would have edged it out. But credit to Cowboy for being able to lock down Griffin and not allowing him to posture up and rain down strikes. Like, he was really using that bull riding grip to just get an S grip, lock down the half guard, and just hold on for dear life.
Yeah. Fun fight, tons of action. Both men showing exactly what they, why the UFC keeps them around, win or lose. And for Oliveira, a big fight for him because, as he said, if he lost this fight, I think it was like the last fight on his contract, he was probably done in the UFC. Or even if it wasn't, he would be on 4 straight losses. And
yeah, it was a must-win for him.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, he's got, 10 kids?
Does he?
Yeah. I think I saw it. Somebody was tweeting out before his fight, he's got 10 kids with 3 different women who all live on the same street.
My goodness.
So he needs every penny he makes out of his fight purses is spent by the time he gets home, I'm sure.
Player. Honestly, before the co-main event, this was my vote for fight of the night.
Yeah.
I think they both put up performances worthy of bonus money.
Absolutely. It's just, unfortunately for them, but Joanna versus Zhang really stole the show, and then you got that Dariush getting the performance bonus, and the next fight up, the preliminary final feature prelim bout, the return of Sean O'Malley, grabbing that extra bonus money with an absolutely stellar, scintillating performance, beating Jose Quinonez. And even if you think that the hype train for O'Malley was premature coming out of the gate into the UFC, this was a get on board performance.
Oh yeah, this performance reminded me of early Conor McGregor with how he just seemed on a completely different level than his opponent, with his composure and his ability to just counter and deal out just devastating damage in sequences. And it's really, I feel like it's such a rare thing to see at this level of MMA. He made Quinonez look like he didn't belong in there.
Yep. 100%. That finishing sequence where he hits the right hook as Quinonez is charging in, throws him to the ground, hits the head kick perfectly as Quinonez is getting up, hits the uppercut perfectly as Quinonez is falling down, and then hits all the hammer fists on the ground to finish it. Like, that's such a smooth series of strikes to pull off every one the perfect strike to throw in that moment.
And that's the thing. It's so perfect that it's almost as if O'Malley had seen that movie before, and he knew, like, he's from the future, and he knew what to throw and when to throw it, and he did. Like, he went back in time and got the almanac or whatever, went in the future and got the almanac and went back. Like, it's insane. Like, at this level, that happening, like, man, it really is something to behold. The dude's for real. Like,
yeah. You know, it's the kind of win where that's what you want to see when somebody's going to be an elite fighter, when they are a future title challenger, when they are, headed towards the top of the division, and you match them up against a dude who's good, who's tough, who has some tools, but is not an elite talent, is not on their way towards a title run. That's the kind of performance you want to see. That is the kind of performance that tells you when you're seeing somebody elite, when they just look miles ahead of a very decent opponent.
And Quinonez is tough as nails. Like, no one's knocking him out like that.
No.
I'm really blown away by this performance. And O'Malley's the truth. Like, it's, he's got crazy hair and face tattoos and, like, tons of hype for reasons that have nothing to do with fighting. But at the end of the day, man, this guy can fight.
Yeah. Really, really fantastic fight. Super fun. Kind of makes me wonder what the UFC is going to do with him. Are they going to give him another solid veteran who he can, put on another show against and, like, get a little more name momentum? Or are they going to throw him in and be like, okay, fight Montel Jackson or fight Song Yadong or fight one of these other, top prospects in the division that's been making a run and making a name for themselves, and we'll see what comes out of it.
I would love to see him fight Chito Vera.
Oh, yeah, well, Vera's booked, but, man, that fight has to happen at some point.
That would be such a wild, oh, man, that would be the craziest thing ever.
It really would. That would be a fantastic fight. So
I don't know. He's all upside. Like,
oh yeah,
his stock is just rising and rising and rising.
I kind of think the UFC will probably give him somebody maybe like Brian Kelleher next.
Okay, make him stuff takedowns, and if it even gets there, I guess.
Like, give him another name, another veteran who's been around a bit and who's got tons of experience. But that they, everybody's like, okay, O'Malley can beat this guy. And I no shade towards Kelleher, but that would be the expectation.
Right.
Whereas if you throw him in, like I say, it's like Song Yadong right now, like, that would be an absolute nail biter of a fight. But you're also kind of wasting the potential for, like, two dudes who could be meeting for a title. They could be fighting for a title shot at some point in the future.
Well, the way that division's going, I wouldn't be so sure.
True. I mean, yeah, they could be fighting to sit around and watch Henry Cejudo fight other people at some point in the future.
Coming off, he's going to fight Rafael Assunção after Aldo.
He's going to go fight Figueiredo at flyweight.
That's right. Oh yeah. Well,
and then he'll challenge Volkanovski.
No, he's going to fight the loser of Figueiredo Benavidez too.
There you go. Yeah. All right. Lightweight bout before this, really kind of hard to come down. Like, this is, going back through these, like, oh, man, that was awesome, and that was awesome, and that was awesome. And then Mark Madsen beat Austin Hubbard. That was fine.
Even this was exciting, though, the way Hubbard rallied and felt out some damage in the third. It was still better than the main event.
Well, yeah, but that's a low bar. I mean,
it's the second worst fight on the card.
Yeah. Madsen, it was fine. Like, Madsen came out and he did what everybody knew he was going to do. He took the fight to Hubbard. He took him down. He roughed him up. He hit
the suplex.
Yeah, he hit that nice suplex. And then he just ran out of ideas, and his gas tank started to fade. And mostly, like, it wasn't even that he got that tired. He just didn't have any other thing that he could do in the fight.
Yeah, he was definitely discouraged from shooting in.
Yeah.
Like, it was the fading gas tank, I think, is what. Because, I mean, he spent so much energy just trying to hold Hubbard down. Because Hubbard was relentless with trying to get back to his feet. Like, he just wouldn't concede the position. And, like, that's so exhausting.
But at the same time,
he got tuned up in that third.
The booth was kind of like, oh, yeah, Madsen shouldn't be spending all his energy that way and all that. It's like, but what else is he going to do? Like, he either has to wrestle and keep him down, and he won the fight that way, or he's just going to get lit up out at range. Yeah,
I mean, it was good to see him in jeopardy and having to gut something out and having him to deal with being hurt and go through some adversity. I mean, that's definitely promising. But man, he's definitely someone to keep an eye on. I mean, how many silver medalist Olympic Greco-Roman wrestlers do we have in the UFC?
Yeah, no, I'm happy to see the talent in the UFC. I'm happy to see him ply his trade. It's just he's like, this is a very clear, like, we want to see you go from Olympian to elite fighter, you're scraping by like the low end of your division right now, and this is your wake up call. Like, you have to bring a grappling game to the table. You have to bring a striking game to the table, because if all you're bringing is wrestling, tough fighters will find a way to survive your wrestling long enough to punish you.
Yeah, I mean, he needs to link up with Yoel Romero and learn how to throw some flying knees and really translate his athleticism into his striking. And maybe even take like a similar approach of just not going out there trying to wrestle everybody. Like, charge up, explode with some strikes, charge up again, explode with some strikes. You know, there's a little formula there, I think, that Romero really has mastered. Of course, it backfires on him sometimes.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's better than going out and just being a wet blanket for 2 rounds and not having the gas tank to sustain that in the third.
Yeah.
Because what is he going to do in in the 4th round, in the 5th round? It's not a sustainable style. So
he would never get to a 5-round fighting this way. Like, that's not
exactly.
Yeah.
He needs to polish that striking up for sure.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's good to learn this now, and you know, hopefully he'll learn, and that'll be the biggest takeaway. And like, that's why I'm kind of glad he got rocked in the 3rd, because it's like, had he not gotten hurt and just kind of stayed on the outside and not really took any damage, it probably wouldn't have been as big of a learning lesson for him. A moment to really be like, oh wow, I definitely need to, you know, sharpen up here. Yeah. So it's good that he had to eat some really hard knees. And
for that, middleweight, Rodolfo Vieira defeated Safarov. Safarov put a scare into him early. A kick landed right in the eye, and it busted Vieira's eye up badly. But
it was such a Safarov move. Just an up kick straight up the middle. Like, I feel bad. You know what? I'm going to take the thumper from Bambi route here. What did he say? If you don't have nothing nice to say, and you don't say nothing at all. So I'm not even going to speak on Safarov. But Vieira, definitely promising new blood at middleweight with one of the most dangerous ground games there is at 185 pounds.
Well, the thing that's good to see, too, is as a jiu-jitsu dude, you know, as a great jiu-jitsu champion level grappler,
he can wrestle.
He's married his BJJ game with not just like he can wrestle, but with a power wrestling game with high amplitude, strong takedowns, no messing around. It's, you know, it's not just, I need the body lock and then I'm going to trip you down like you see a lot of really good jiu-jitsu practitioners do, which can work, but it also means you have to like walk right in on somebody. And get to that clinch position. This is more Jacare style. Like, I am going to go after your hips, and if I get there, I am putting you on your ass.
And it's good to see that it's so ingrained that he can do it while he's rocked.
Yep.
Like, that was really good to see. He was like, oh, crap, I'm hurt. All right, enough of this. Like, I'm not giving you another moment to land anything silly like that or hurt me in any other way. Like, we're going to go to the ground. And it's like, once it went there, you got the feeling that it was the beginning of the end.
Oh,
and it was.
I mean, like, Safarov even hit that whizzer, got back up, but Vieira immediately mat returned him and put him down again. And at that point, like, that was a wrap.
Yeah. He's such a stud. He really is.
I'm excited to see what he can do, because middleweight is a perfect division for a dude like him who's just got, like, these couple things that he does really well. Like, he can fight so many dudes that cannot defensively wrestle so well that they can stay totally on their feet against him and then have none of the grappling chops to hang with him on the ground.
Yeah, I think he's going to be submitting a lot of guys at middleweight.
Yeah.
And I'm excited for it. And you got 4 undefeated fighters on this card, and they all remain undefeated.
Yep.
Pretty
Unfortunately,
crazy.
Next up, a middleweight who is slipping from the prospect ranks. Darren Wynn taking a hard loss to Gerald Meerschaert. And I know I've said this before. I said it in the build-up. I said it right after the fight got done. If you've got a prospect at middleweight that you're managing, just avoid Gerald Meerschaert. Like, don't take that fight. He will beat your bright young prospect fighter because he's tough as hell. He's dangerous all rounds. He's got good cardio, and he's just sneaky as all get out. And, Wynn's out there, like, landing the bigger punches, trying to put a pace on Meerschaert, trying to get close that distance and be the athlete. Meerschaert's just pecking away at him, landing the short shots, and eventually wearing out his gas tank and clubbing subbed him late in the middle of round 3. And, like, it's just, like, for Wynn, this was not the fight he needed after losing his last bout.
Yeah, he got picked apart. I mean, from Jump Street.
Yep.
Meerschaert was really using his reach advantage. Like, nothing fancy, just not trying to load up on his strikes, just touching his target, jab cross, jab cross, body kick. And then I think it was the 3rd round, he started hooking to the body, and that's what really hurt Wynn there. Like, he was really like, oh, I don't like this at all. And I have the feeling that if Wynn would have been a lot more aggressive, he probably could have got Meerschaert out of there. But, like, he was kind of resorted to just kind of staying too far out and trying to throw 1 to 2 strikes at a time. I think if he would have just blitzed and went crazy, he probably could have found some success there.
Well, I think part of it is honestly just that at the size he's at, the weight he's carrying for the frame he has, and the size of the opponents he's got to face, like, he has to manage his energy so carefully.
Yeah, I mean, I call him he's a Pat Barry that can wrestle.
Yeah.
A middleweight Pat Barry that can wrestle.
Yeah. I mean, DC's his manager, and DC was saying that they're trying to convince him to go to welterweight. These losses might be what it takes. Yeah.
I mean, even on the broadcast, DC was like, well, he missed weight at middleweight, so...
Yeah, it's going to be hard to convince him to get to welterweight. But I think, honestly, just at his height and his size, like, he's got a huge uphill battle to go. Like, with the amount of athleticism he has, he's deeply compromised at a much lower ceiling at this weight class than he should be,
Yeah, and again, I really believe they picked Meerschaert because they thought they could knock him out.
But who knocks Gerald Meerschaert out? Thiago Santos did it, and that's it.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, Thiago Santos is one of the all-time leading KO artists in UFC history.
No, I feel you, but
yeah,
I mean, Meerschaert definitely ate some big shots that hurt him.
Oh yeah, no question. Meerschaert takes damage, but he takes it, like that's what I'm
But
saying.
they didn't take the Meerschaert fight so Wynn could come out and out wrestle him. Like he got that early takedown and just let him back up. Like he wanted no parts of that ground game.
Yeah.
So the game plan was obviously to stand with him. But Meerschaert was just too technical for him and was willing to stay composed and not try to do too much and just picked his shots and touched his target. And that's really credit to Duke Roufus.
Yep. It's a lot of credit to Duke Roufus, and it's just a lot of credit to Meerschaert for being this insanely tough, composed dude who is always, he's never going to give a fighter the easy fight they want out of him. He's not the best athlete. He's not a terrific wrestler, which means he has to rely on kind of a slow-footed striking game or a crafty grappling game without a lot of marriage between them. But he always stays composed, and he tends to pick the right things to do at the right times.
Yeah, he's very smart. He's a very smart fighter. And honestly, I felt like he beat Eric Anders.
I absolutely think he got robbed in that fight. There's a great argument to be made that Meerschaert has not lost since that Jack Hermanson fight in 2018, and that he should be on a 4-fight win streak right now.
Which is insane.
Yeah. So
he's he's such a sleeper.
Yep. All right, that brings us to a featherweight bout. Giga Chikadze, Jamal Emmers, and Chikadze absolutely skin of his teeth scraping out a win here.
Yeah, I was so happy for Giga. For one, that's my brother. He's a great dude. For two, he gets a win bonus. And for three, my friend bet on him at underdog odds. So I'm so happy that he got the win. But, I mean, you can't take off a whole round in a 3-round fight and expect to get the dub.
I mean, he's a young fighter in his MMA career. I know he's done a lot of kickboxing too. But it's showing that his cardio is not at a UFC level yet.
Not when he has to grapple.
Yeah, this is his second straight fight where even in a win, he has ended up absolutely exhausted, trading and not even getting the better of boxing exchanges with much worse strikers late in fights.
Yeah. It's definitely the biggest knock on him, I would say.
Yeah. He came out of the gate in this fight and he looked sharp. He absolutely crumpled Jamal Emmers early with a counter right hand right out of the gate. And, then he did enough in the second round. He landed the better shots. He got that nice sweep. He's always kind of a surprising grappler.
Yeah. I mean, if considering he's a kickboxer, but I mean, he's training with Fabricio Verdum and he's got a really good team around him at King's MMA. Benil Dariush.
Great sweeps, and he throws with power when he's on top. Yeah. But he's really got to figure out how to do all that and keep his cardio up. So
that's a tall order. But he got scraped by with another win. His last one was really close as well. They actually declared it a draw real time, the announcer did, and then they didn't declare it a win until after the fact. But yeah, man, he's so fun to watch.
He is.
He strikes so hard from both stances, and it's so hard to deal with. He comes out and he just owns the first round.
Yeah.
And if the way Emmers hit that takedown to start off the second round, you got to wonder, he probably could have done that in the first round.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I noticed that watching tape for this fight and thinking about it and talking to Connor about it for the vivisection, and it's just Emmers has the wrestling and grappling game to win this fight, to do things he needs to do to win this fight. But you watch Jamal Emmers fights, and it's always him out at kickboxing range, working purely a boxing game against opponents. And it's not a bad boxing game, but he is very willing to go 50-50 with fight opponents for extended periods of time over the bulk of rounds and the bulk of fights. And he doesn't have an urgency to want to wrestle or grapple. It's something that either comes naturally through the course of the fight, or he'll do it once or twice, but he clearly wants to kickbox, which was why I was like, I can't pick him to win this fight.
Yeah, I mean, maybe this will be a big learning lesson for him, a big moment where he can be like, okay, I could have won this fight. Why didn't I? Okay, I need to go work on this.
Yeah, I kind of get the feeling he'll probably take it more of like, I came in on short notice, I did my best, and, you know.
Speaking of, you think they'll try to rebook Giga and Mike Davis?
I hope so.
I want to see that fight so bad. That
is such an awesome fight, honestly.
And we won't have to worry about Giga's takedown or gassing out from grappling.
That's right.
You know they'll just stand there and trade. I want it so bad.
That would be a great fight. And that brings us finally to a bantamweight bout. Dana Batgerel and Guido Keneda, and Batgerel, honestly, he looked big and he looked sharp. Like, I didn't remember him being that big, and then I see him out there with Keneda, and it's like, he looks like he's 3 or 4 inches taller.
Yeah, he definitely looked big. What a great performance, though. I mean, he just pressed forward right away behind his strikes. Keneda was backpedaling. Keneda was doing a good job of trying to answer with leg kicks, but it couldn't deter Dana from just letting his hands go. Yeah, he was just getting it was a pressure counter fighting of like, every time Keneda came and threw anything at Batgerel, he'd get countered. He'd eat a 1-2, and his timing just kind of got more and more predictable to the point that, like, that left hook that knocked him out, Batgerel's coiled, and the moment Keneda, like, moved his head forward to start entering the pocket for a strike, he got crushed with that left hook. Like, it was beautiful. Yeah. It's such a fun style to watch. Yeah. Someone who's coming forward and making you feel like you have to throw something, and then just clocking you when you do. Yep. I absolutely love that sort of style. No, it's super fun. Great performance from Batgerel there. Getting a big win. Looking much more like a competitive fighter in this bantamweight division, more so than I had originally thought after that loss to Alatang. I kind of thought he would just kind of wash out, and we'd be like, oh, yeah, that was, the UFC had that one guy from Mongolia in for 5 minutes. But he won a performance bonus for that fight. Did he? Against, yeah. Oh, against Alatang? Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. I mean, it was a scrap, but, Yes, I guess that also raises the bar on Alatang for that fight, too. Oh, for sure. And, like, he was on his way to a performance bonus had it not been for O'Malley and Dariush. True, yeah. Because this was it was ruled a knockout. Yep. Oh, it was nice. It was great performance from him. Beautiful left hook. Great way to kick off the card. It was like a sign of things to come. Yeah, and like we've been talking about pretty much all the way through. This card was just a ton of fun, all the way back until we circled around to this main event, and gives me shivers. Yeah, I know. Adesanya versus Romero. Just, I get it. Adesanya does not want to end up permanently broken for defending his title against Yoel Romero. I still would have liked to see him do more than he did by a long shot. And for Romero, like, it's getting to be fewer and fewer returns on the huge bursts of activity. Like, I mean, I realize that Whitaker and Costa took harder fights to him, but Romero returned harder fights because of it. Yeah, they made him work. Yeah. It's like Jose Aldo. Like, if you make him work, he's gonna, he's going to work, and he's gonna hurt you. He's gonna return violence. Yeah. But this was like Anderson Silva, Damian Maia, but worse. It's like, man, this would be Anderson Silva, Damian Maia if Damian Maia were like a huge power threat. Yeah. And
You still got, you got that fight. Still.
And like my biggest pet peeve is like after the fight, Romero's like chastising Adesanya for a boring fight. And it's like, bro, you're a dancer. You should know it takes two to tango. What are you talking about? Like, this is 50% your fault.
Yeah. No, I mean, especially like all the push-ups and that stuff in the octagon. And then Adesanya too being like, I can go 5 more rounds. And it's like, you guys should have gone 5 rounds just now.
Yeah.
If you can go 5 more rounds and Romero can do 100 push-ups, you both should have used that energy to do the fight that you just had right then in front of you.
They did not leave it all in the cage.
No. They left none of it in the cage. Neither of them felt like they fought. And I get, for Adesanya, I can understand it because the belt, he will never have more leverage in his entire career than he will holding a UFC title. If he loses that, he loses all of his leverage with the promotion.
Yeah.
You hold that title to the death, as, to quote BJ Penn. I get it, but I'm not going to be entertained by it.
No. And like I totally understand that point. I respect that point.
Yeah.
But like the fan in me feels cheated.
Oh, yeah.
Of a fight that could have been epic.
As fans, we love to see champions like Robert Whittaker. We love to see champions like Robbie Lawler. We love to see champions who just go out there and say, you know what? I am turning this into a war, whether I'm champion or not, because the important part to me is fighting a good fight and fighting a fun fight.
Yeah, being entertaining,
Yeah.
The show side of this.
Yeah. But at the same time, Robert Whittaker and Robbie Lawler both don't have UFC gold around their waists anymore.
Yeah, that's true.
They're both taking massive pay cuts and fighting on the undercard again, fighting on the co-main event or fighting on fight nights and whatever because they're not champs anymore. And like, that's a mentality that I love and I want to reward. And it's a mentality that, it totally does not serve their best interests as businessmen in the business of fighting.
Yeah, Adesanya is he's lucky that his next opponent is really going to bring the lumber and has ammunition to talk all the trash in the world leading up to it, which will help build the fight. Yep. But we did get a incredible, amazing, overproducing co-main event that will be one of my all-time favorites forever.
Just a wonderful, beautiful fight. Shouldn't focus anymore on Adesanya Romero when we have Zhang Jedrzejczyk to talk about because, that'll... Not that the UFC Hall of Fame means anything, but it's a surefire Hall of Fame bout. It's a fight that is going to be on every fan's like all-time great wars list. It is a wonderful, amazing performance. Just a beautiful fight from both women. And like I was saying on Twitter after the event, and I was just like, they should just take Adesanya's belt and give it to Joanna.
Yeah, I mean, after the first round, I scored it 10-9 for the co-main event.
Yeah.
Epic. I wish they both could have won and could be co-champions together, but that's not the way the world works.
No. All right. On that note, we're going to wrap this up. You can find me on Twitter at Zane Simon. You can find Eddie on Twitter at Eddie Mercado. Give us a like and
comment.
Yes. And we'll see you next time for UFC Fight Night Lee versus Oliveira.